As October is the month of breast cancer awareness, the Department of Public Health, Health Planning and Research at the National Assembly, in line with the 2022 theme, Rally in Screening Everyone, commemorates the month with a seminar on breast cancer and training on technique for self-breast examination in collaboration with the Medic Aid Foundation on the 17th of October 2022 at the National Assembly. There is also going to be breast scans available to the National Assembly staff and legislature within the National Assembly complex, running through the 18th and 19th of October.
Happy to be here, and I'm very, very happy to see so many women here. I want to say that this month, which is October, as the breast cancer awareness month, I would have even preferred that they do it every month. Just set out a day in the month and do this, enlightenment and education. A lot of us need education, especially in our villages. You see, the breast is one of the critical organs that maintains life. Look at it there. In any way you look at it, the depth will maintain life. Either nurturing the baby, even nurturing the adult. I mean? Yes. I want to say that there are some misconceptions here. I know that 90% of you that are seated here, you did not tell your husband that you were coming to this lecture. Not to talk of inviting them. You should invite them. Breast cancer does not affect women alone. It affects men. Even the men battle is very badly. When you see it in a man, it kills nothing. It's almost the progression is always very, very too fast. That it almost kills every man that. So a man too should come here and listen to this. And like our lecturer said, she said the cheapest way of defeating this ugly disease is examination.
And the healthy workforce is necessary for a good productivity. So part of the activities of the department, the clerk decided that we should be organizing periodically programs that aim at health promotion of the staff. This is one of the series that we have organized, which the clerk has graciously granted us to organize. And also not only that, but he also allowed us to partner in the form of public-private partnership with the Medicaid Cancer Foundation. Most of us may be aware of it. It's a foundation that's primarily aimed at preventing all sorts of cancers, both in men and women. And their office is at the Medicaid Radiology Center, which is adjacent to our employer's office. That's just adjacent to the National Assembly Science Commission in Otago. We also wish to thank the President and CEO of this Medicaid Foundation, Her Excellency the President Babu, the First Lady of Kebbi State, and all her staff who agreed to partner with us and have provided us with logistic support to ensuring that this program is a success. This program has two stages. The first stage is actually a more public enlightenment, where we are going to listen to the speakers who are going to tell us about breast cancer, risk factors to it, and what are the various screening procedures for prevention. Second stage is going to be the actual screening, which is in two forms again. The first form is what we call the breast self-examination, BSE, which we are going to be taught how to do, and we encourage each and every person here today, whether man or woman, to actually examine their breast. Don't think that men don't have breast, just that they are not as big as yours. So the second stage is going to be actually a breast cancer scan. We are going to do an ultrasound scan of the breast, again in collaboration with the Medicaid Foundation. It's a very costly procedure, and you know the National Assembly has more than 5,000 staff, both men and women, and by the time you add to their spouses, you can see the number that is actually generated, and the cost was going to be enormous, which was not specifically budgeted for. However, the Medicaid Foundation has graciously agreed to give us a 50% discount the charge they normally charge for breast cancer from this program.
Standing on all the existing protocol, I am Dr. Fatima Ambata with Medicaid, and I'm here to give you this short but very important presentation on breast cancer. Breast cancer is the most common cancer worldwide, and there has been a general increase in cancers worldwide. This has been due to a number of factors. There is increasing age of the population. There is increase in the consumption of processed foods or fast foods, and a shift from the natural foods, from the vegetables that we're supposed to eat. The burden of cancer is not only felt in other countries, but in Nigeria as well. And as a low middle income country, we are less prepared to deal with the burden of disease. According to the World Health Organization, 11.7% of Nigerians under the age of 75. Next slide. According to the World Health Organization, 11.7% of Nigerians under the age of 75 have a risk of developing some form of cancer. Next slide, please. Breast cancer is the most frequently diagnosed life-threatening cancer in women and the leading cause of cancer death in women. In Nigeria, in the year 2021, 44,699 women died of some form of cancer. Annually, 72,000 cancer deaths are recorded in Nigeria, with 102,000 new cases diagnosed. Bear in mind, the statistics that we provide are only the documented ones. There are a number of women that die of this disease that never get to see the four walls of a hospital, either because they are in areas where they believe in superstitious things and they think that this is some form of witchcraft, or because they have financial constraints and are not even able to afford a diagnosis, talk less of treatment. What is cancer? To put it very simply, cancer is an uncontrolled growth of cells. The human body is made up of cells. Every organ is made up of cells. Your heart is made up of cells. Your breast is made up of cells. These cells have a natural process. When they are produced, they are supposed to live for a particular period, do their functions, and then they die and they are replaced by other cells. In cancer, what we have is that these cells, when they are produced, do not die. Instead, they remain here and over time begin to produce toxic substances. And these toxic substances can then spread to other parts of the body, what we refer to as metastasis. Breast cancer is a cancer that develops in the breast cells, either in the locus or in the ducts of the breast, which I will show you shortly. It is more common in women, but there is also a 1% risk in a man's life of having breast cancer. Unfortunately, breast cancer in men is often diagnosed late because there is stigma associated with it. Men do not want to think they can have cancer of the breast, so they tend to ignore the signs and the symptoms of breast cancer. So this is just a visual representation. This is a normal breast and what it's supposed to look like. And over there is cancer that has begun to form in the duct of the breast. What are the risk factors? What puts the person at risk of having cancer? Age and gender. Breast cancer is definitely more common in women than age. We say that breast cancer is more common in women older than 40 years. But again, vigilance is for everyone. The story I shared with you in the beginning of this presentation, she was a 28-year-old woman. Probably did not think that breast cancer would be for her. So with new advancements, it's important for everyone to be vigilant, for everyone to do breast exams that we'll talk about shortly, and for every female to screen. Family history of breast cancer. Having a family history puts you at more risk. If you have a first degree relative, a mother or a sister with breast cancer, you have 4 times more risk than the average woman of having breast cancer. If it's more than one first degree relative, that risk increases by 5 times. Nulliparity, having only one child, is also a risk for breast cancer. Then early age at menarche, which is the age that you start your menstruation, less than 11 years. Late age at first pregnancy, having a first pregnancy at an age greater than 25, and late menopause. All these also increase your risk for breast cancer. Obesity, especially abdominal obesity, fat in the abdomen, increases risk for breast cancer. Use of oral contraceptive pills. This is associated with long-term use, that is use greater than 5 years. It causes a 25% increase in the risk of breast cancer. However, if you stop the pills for a period of 10 years, then your risk goes back to that of the normal of a person that has not used oral contraceptive pills before. Bear in mind, this is not just contraceptives, it also includes hormone replacement therapy for postmenopausal women. That also increases your risk, especially if it's just estrogen and not combined with progesterone. Then a prior history of breast cancer. If you've had breast cancer in one breast before, you have a 4 times increased risk of having breast cancer in the second breast. Exposure to radiation. We are constantly exposed to radiation. The phones we use, the devices we have in our houses, all these can increase your risk of breast cancer. And we cannot ignore the lifestyle-related factors. Smoking, alcohol intake, a diet that is poor in fruits and vegetables, processed foods, lack of exercise, all these increase a person's risk of having breast cancer. What are the signs or symptoms that you should take note of during your breast exams? A breast lump or a lump in the armpit. Please note that a lot of times, and in most cases, the lump that is associated with breast cancer is not painful. Out of self-breast exam every month. For the premenopausal woman, this is preferred to be carried out after your menstrual period, in the week after your menstrual period, where the changes, the hormonal changes that are associated with the period have calmed down. That's the best time to examine your breast tissue. Then breast exams by a healthcare professional. So if you can, you should do this at least every year or once in 3 years. Breast ultrasound scans are reserved for women younger than 40 years, and a screening mammogram is for older women 40 years and above. How do you do a breast exam? I know there is a nurse that is going to take us on this later on, but I will need to emphasize on a few things. First of all, you need to stand in front of a mirror and compare both breasts, because the most important thing to do first is to look. Any change in the skin, any change in the size, any ulcer, any injury, then you need to use the flat surface of your palm and feel all over the breast. You can start in a circular motion like is demonstrated here, just so that you don't miss any part of the breast tissue. And it's important to extend all the way to the part under your collarbone. There is breast tissue and there are lymph nodes that extend to this part. And you miss if you don't extend to this part during your breast exam. I have already mentioned about your armpits. You should check in your armpits as well. Change. The good thing about a mammogram is that it can detect changes in the breast even before a lump forms. So, depending on the stage and the spread, it can just be surgery where we remove the lump or we take the breast on its own. We can combine that with chemotherapy or radiotherapy, immunotherapy or hormone therapy, which is targeted therapy to the breast. Prognosis. So the prognosis, that is the chances of survival, depends on a number of factors. I will not bore you with that, however. I want you to take a look at the other side. Overall, there is a 90% 5-year survival rate for non-metastatic breast cancer. There is a huge survival rate for cancer that has not spread. And this is why we keep on emphasizing on early detection and the importance of screening. If you're able to detect cancer early, there is a lot that can be done. We have a survivor here with us that is going to share her story. You will see her beautiful and healthy because her cancer was diagnosed early. But when cancer has spread, then the treatment options become narrow. If a breast lump is still just a breast lump, you can do a lot about it. If it's not, then especially with our resources and our settings, there isn't a lot that can be done. So, my take-home message is, I will keep on talking about early detection because if it's the only thing that is taken from here, then I am happy today. Early detection is important. Please don't disregard breast exams. Don't disregard screening ultrasound scans or mammograms. These things save lives. Cancer is a very difficult disease if it is diagnosed late. It is very difficult, very rigorous. The young lady who shared the story I shared with you earlier went through a lot of pain, a lot of intense treatments, and we still lost her within a year at such a young age. Early detection could have prevented so much of that. Vigilance is very important.
I want to add that prevention is not only better than cure, it's also cheaper than cure.
That's it.
So the earlier all of us, as women, as men who have wives, sisters, daughters, the earlier we know more about breast cancer, the better for all of us. Worldwide, Breast Cancer Awareness Month has been slotted for October. So there are many activities. Because of the gravity of this problem, there are many activities scheduled to remind women of the importance of breast cancer. You know, we women take care of everybody else and we forget ourselves. But the month of October reminds us that we need to be aware of this cancer that has taken so many lives. Prevention is better than cure. And that is the main aim for this seminar. A health talk to remind us of the risk factors that cause breast cancer. Early menses is one of them. She mentioned quite a few. She will discuss, she will review it as she comes to answer questions. Now, what is the cheapest form of early detection? Can anybody tell us the cheapest form of early detection? Self-breast examination. Okay, some people who are listening. Now, we're opening the floor to question and answers. We will take 4 questions, and then our doctor will come and answer.
With regards to oral contraceptives, what do you recommend for people doing family planning and preventing unwanted pregnancies?
The first question came from a man. It's good that you are listening. It helps to raise more awareness. Nulliparity. Why does having only one child increase the risk of breast cancer? No, it's not related to excessive sucking. It's because estrogen is one of the hormones that is implicated in breast cancer. Uncontrolled exposure of the breast tissue to estrogen increases the risk of breast cancer. The second question, mammograms here. Yes. A mammogram uses low-dose X-ray. And you're right, X-ray is radiation and it is harmful. However, the first rule of medicine is to do no harm. And so when recommending procedures, we weigh the benefits against the risks. Yearly exposure to that low-dose mammogram is a lot better than coming down with breast cancer. Besides, like I said, it's low dose, so the effect is really not as much as even getting an X-ray for like a fracture or something like that. Then contraceptives as a family planning method. So this risk that I mentioned is related with oral contraceptive use. And not just that it is an oral contraceptive, also long-term use greater than 5 years. So there are other options for contraceptives that are not oral contraceptives. We have injectables, we have surgery, bilateral tubal ligation. There are other contraceptive options. And also, I mentioned earlier, if a woman stops using contraceptives for about 10 years, her risk decreases, and it goes back to that of someone that has never used contraceptives before. The final and interesting question. So, yes. Breastfeeding a child reduces the risk of breast cancer. This is because of the hormones that are secreted when a woman is breastfeeding a child. This reduces the risk of breast cancer. These same hormones are not secreted when it is an adult human. So please, it is breastfeeding a child that no one is breast cancer. Thank you.
So I want to just start by thanking the National Assembly for this very important event. You don't know what you have done. If you don't really appreciate the extent and the magnitude of what you have done by convening this very important meeting. When a woman has breast cancer, well, breast cancer does not affect only women. It affects the entire family. Even though it affects men also. Cancers devastate your body, devastate your finances, devastate your time and everything. So it is really a very serious issue. So it gives me pleasure to be at this event commemorating the 2022 Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I'm particularly excited that this event is being organized by the National Assembly because that shows how much they value the importance and appreciate the importance of putting cancer on the program. Breast cancer is a health challenge. It's not only a health challenge in women, it's also an economic challenge for the family. And it's one of the commonest cancers in women. The good news is that it is preventable, like has already been said by our speaker, if it is detected early. Like most other cancers, the cause of breast cancer is not really known precisely. So nobody can say that this is what causes it, but there are risk factors, like our teacher has already outlined. And the good thing about these risk factors for women is that these risk factors not only help you to avoid breast cancer, but also make you look more beautiful. Every woman is trying to lose a little weight. We're all always on a diet, even the ones that are very skinny. So when we are trying to look our best, it also supports our fight against breast cancer. So we're talking about regular physical activity, weight control, and all of that, and even breastfeeding. And I want to encourage young women who are among us, please breastfeed your children. There's no guy who's not breastfeeding their children. There's no young guy inside. We're not going to sell the breast in the market. So, and those who have need for it, like the chairman has said, will appreciate it in that form, whatever form it is. So please, let's breastfeed our children. And of course, all the other healthy habits of avoiding harmful use of alcohol, avoidance of exposure to tobacco, and avoidance of prolonged use of hormones, and of course, excessive radiation exposure. I have two stories with breast cancer, two very heart-wrenching stories. Well, two stories, one heart-wrenching, one very supportive. One is that my best auntie, my mom's youngest sister, who was the person we all looked up to as children. She was very enterprising, very beautiful, very giving. She was that auntie that was our go-to person. Suddenly, while I was a medical student, the last holiday I spent before medicine took away my long vacations, I was in her house in Benin. And then the next thing, when I became a clinical student, they said she had a lump on the breast, and it was removed. My mom was a nurse. And then one thing led to the other. They took her to a hospital. At that time, maybe people were not as aware as they are today, and the treatment options were very limited. So, well, she bled and bled and bled. She became necrotic. Now I look back and I realized what was going on. And they brought her to UNTH, where I was now doing my clinicals. That was towards the end. She was now bleeding, uncontrollably. And I had to be the one staying with her because every other person lived far away, and I was in Enugu in school, so I would go there. I would wake up in the morning and I would have my heart in my hand. I would wake up in the morning and I would have I have to be the one staying with my auntie. When I wake up in the morning, I would be so afraid. But I'll talk with her, encourage her, you know. She was in the nursing, under nursing care. And she would say things like to this, say, Ngo, Omuabukati. Now I'm going to translate that into English. Omuabukati, Dizindu Nesis. Meaning, is it me, Catherine, that is alive and smelling? You understand? So, it broke my heart. Remember how I described her? She was that my auntie, the most beautiful one, the most enterprising one, the one that gave you the most amount of money, the one that bought you the nicest clothes, the one that took you to the best places. That was who my auntie Kati was. And she would cry, and I would encourage her. I was young, I was very young, and I was afraid. I didn't have any support. I didn't know who to run to. So I stayed with her. And one day, after school, I would come back, spend a long time with her. When she goes to bed, I would now go back to the hostel. And one day, I came back after school, and her bed was empty. So, I was broke, but I was also relieved. That is how much devastation that cancer can bring. And I look back, she had all the risk factors. She had one child, married late. She didn't drink, she didn't smoke, but she had a number of other issues that had been raised here. And I asked myself, if she's in this community, if she had a chance like this, would she still be alive today? That's a question that I remember every time I'm asked to come to this kind of a place. I remember her. And so when 15 years ago my husband had to set up a hospital, the Shiva Specialist Hospital is in Abidjan Street. One of the requests that I made from him is to have a cancer screening. So every year, throughout the month of October, there's cancer screening going on. Of course, they started with, because it's a urology center, they started with prostate cancer screening. And that screening is free. The Ministry of Health, of course, collaborates with them sometimes. But that is the way that I felt that I could at least help someone who would find themselves in the position that I was, very early in my life. I was less than 20 at the time that all of this happened. Okay? So I want to thank again the National Assembly. And a number of questions we will ask ourselves. What does it take to really protect ourselves against cancer? Very simple things. And maybe because they are simple, they are not expensive, nobody's asking you to pay for coming to listen here. People may take it for granted. But please do not. When you see someone who has cancer, you will give anything to have an opportunity such as this. So I want to thank Medicaid. I want to thank you for the crusade. We are going around, making sure that as much as possible we save ourselves this trouble. Look at your mirror and visualize that you are before your mirror. And you look at yourself, as you are looking at the mirror, you are seeing your breast. What are you looking at? You are looking at the shape. You are looking at the size. And also the appearance of your breast. Is there any changes in the appearance of your breast? And after looking, you turn to your right and to your left. You raise your two hands up. Raise your two hands up. You turn to the right, you check. And you turn to the left and also check. And after that, you put your hands down. What else do you do? You use your 3 middle fingers, not the tip, but the part of your 3 middle fingers to feel. You begin to feel, you go round in a circular motion. You go to the armpits and then to the collarbone. What are you checking for? You are checking for lumps.
And immediately you see it, like the doctor said, early detection is what? Key to early prognosis. Thank you very much.
But I will just share my story. My name is Makosi. I was born and bred in Zimbabwe. I moved to the United Kingdom where I worked as a cardiac nurse. So I was one of the very lucky people to survive breast cancer because I was aware of breast cancer. I worked in Hammersmith Hospital. So because of the awareness, I knew I had to check my breast often. But before I was diagnosed 6 years ago, I wasn't checking my breast often. So when the doctor told me that I had cancer, and I had the most aggressive one, somebody asked, I had triple negative breast cancer, the one that does not even respond to chemotherapy. I thought like anybody in this room would think, I thought I was dying. I started planning my own funeral because I look after my parents. I sent my siblings to school. That's why I was touched by the doctor's story because I was that aunt in my family.
You are that aunt.
So I am, yes. So I started planning my own funeral. However, because of my mindset, I thought, you know what? I'll fight this. If it beats me, I'm not going to go down without a fight. But if I do beat it, I'm going to bastardize it. That's why I'm here. So because I was diagnosed at stage 1, I had a single mastectomy. But again, I was very lucky because of resources. I could have a boob job, so you would never know. And I had chemotherapy. I like what the chairman said. He said it should not only be an October thing. Because for a cancer survivor, it's not even a monthly thing, it's a daily thing. When I saw my doctor and he said to me, if you make it 5 years tops, we're in our 6th year, we're going into our 7th year. So I would like to commend the National Assembly of Nigeria for what you are doing here. It is monumental because it's going to vibrate across the continent. That the government is taking us seriously. The government is taking our health seriously. Because anything healthy grows. You take away health, growth stops. And you find that when you have your health, your list of needs is very long. You're like, oh, I want a car, I want a house, I want this, I want that. But once your health is taken away from you, the only thing on your list is your health. So again, I would also like to commend Medicaid, who I've been partnering with now for 2 years, for offering this mammogram, for offering this screening, because as you know, everybody on the panel has been saying, breast cancer does not just affect the cancer patient. The children are affected. There was a day on my 2nd chemotherapy, God help me to share this without tearing up. My father came into my bedroom and he saw the state I was in. And he went on his knees and he said, God, he said, God, whatever punishment she is taking, give it to me. That's how bad it was. So if you have the opportunity to be screened, it's not just you who's surviving. Your children are surviving, your fathers are surviving, your husbands are surviving. So to end this, I have a very long presentation. But to end this, if you're going to take away anything from this conversation, I am here today because my cancer was caught early. Early detection does save lives.
I can't see who I suffer. It gets to me easily. The right for her is the right because they detected it early. And that's why she's sitting there. And by the grace of Almighty God, she's going to live her life until 80. You start counting all these survival years at the grace of God. I just want to thank you for coming. I really appreciate you. I know what you're talking about. And like I say it here, it's when it eats you. And we don't want to eat anybody. That's why this gathering is being organized. You don't want to eat anybody. Prevention is better than cure. It's my first. I want to, on behalf of the Healthcare Services Committee of the Federal House of Representatives, I want to say thank you for coming. Thank you for agreeing to talk to us. Thank you for always having our prayers. Whenever you think about how is this now going so far, always remember that we are praying for you. God will continue to do this. In the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you so much. And I'm glad I stayed back. I'm glad I stayed back. And I think this is important. And I'll get my own copy of the recordings here. And I can play it around what you just said. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So what can you say to be the achievement so far recorded in this fight against cancer?
Part of the achievement is today. If you see so many women in there, and I saw from their reaction to the interaction we had that they were listening very attentively. That's all we need for so many women to be educated about this. If they're educated and they don't get careless, we are going to defeat this disease. It's as simple as that. We can eradicate breast cancer from our medical lexicon. We can. If all of us agree to do this simple task of self-examination, it will, if it's not going to wipe it totally, it will reduce it to the barest minimum. And all these deaths, all this destruction of life and family, we stop.
Reporting for NASS TV, Stephanie Adaba.